Travel to North London to take on Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, both teams coming into this one off the back of wins in the FA Cup at the weekend. So really looking forward to the match tonight. And with us throughout the evening are two fantastic guests. It is, of course, former Saints captain Dean Hammond and football reporter for the Daily Mail, Adrian Kajumba. Great to see you both, Dean. We'll come to you in just a moment. But Adrian, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to see you and Dean. Always great to have you on the show. How's things?
Very good, Kenzie. Very good, thank you. It seems like a long time since we've been on the show. So looking forward to the show. Looking forward to the game tonight.
Yeah, it has been a strong minute, hasn't it? But great to see you both again. Now, we will have the team news coming up in about 15 minutes' time. Now, we know that Lianco will be out for between 8 and 12 weeks after picking up a hamstring injury. Armando Broja did pick up an injury on Saturday against Coventry, but he could be available for tonight. And Nathan Tella is going to be out for tonight and on this Saturday, and for this Saturday's game against Manchester United. Now, Dean, you said that how the Saints have been able to surprise teams with their formation in our last show. So, do you think that Ralph will pull out any surprises from the bag tonight?
Potentially, Steve. If you go back to the last game when we played Tottenham, the 1-1 draw, Shane Long was put into the team, which was a surprise. But we've seen over the last few weeks, tactically, there's been some changes, some variation. The shape-wise, whether it's been 3-5-2, 5-3-2, 4-2-2-2, or the way at West Ham where Southampton played 4-1-4-1, which was really, really effective. So I think there's good options for the manager, and it looks like they're doing a lot of work on the training ground. It doesn't look like it's off the cuff. It looks like there's a lot of detail that goes into it. It looks like the players are comfortable in terms of when they have to adapt and sometimes even change during the game, whether that's players coming off the bench to make an impact or it's a change of shape. So, and it's shown in the results as well. There's been some really, really good results. I go back to it, the game against West Ham was a fantastic result away from home. So I expect the manager will probably go with a similar team and a similar shape with that he went against Man City, because it was such a very, very good performance, really strong team, and tested one of the best teams in the Premier League and one of the best teams in Europe. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's something different about the team tonight. But if I was him, I think that was such a good performance, I would go with the same.
Yeah, it has been interesting, hasn't it, Adrian, to see how Ralph has tinkered with the formation of late. How do you think he'll approach tonight's match?
I think one of the first things is probably a lot of changes in personnel from the weekend, because obviously he made wholesale changes for the Coventry game, and you expect a number of the players who were either on the bench and came on at St Mary's, or players who weren't actually involved in the squad at all, to possibly come in today as it's a return to Premier League action. And as Dean mentioned there about the different formations, there's a real sort of flexibility in terms of the way that Ralph can approach games now with Tottenham tonight under Antonio Conte. They're obviously known for the back three. That's what Antonio Conte plays, and he's preferred three up top as well. So there can be a discussion there about whether Ralph will try and match Spurs up and play a back three, which he has done recently. I guess one issue will be Lianco's absence, as we mentioned, because he's come into that back three in recent weeks and done quite well. So, how does Ralph look at things at the back there? But he's got options in terms of personnel and both formations. So it'll be intriguing to see what he goes for to try and nullify and give Spurs problems as well.
Yeah, very much so. Now, Dean, it was a tough battle against Coventry on Saturday, but ultimately we did get there in the end and got through to the fifth round of the FA Cup. Now, how good could a cup run be for this Saints side, especially as, touch wood, we're out of a relegation battle now?
Well, we saw what it did last year, Steve. Getting to the semi-final was brilliant for the club. I think a cup run is really healthy for any football club. It's healthy for the players. It brings that excitement to the club as well. Like you say, a really good game at the weekend, a really good test against a good Coventry team. Manager made a few changes, players coming, got minutes under their belt. The goal from Stuart Armstrong is fantastic. I mean, what a strike, and he has that ability, and he's such an influential player. Great to see him back and getting back to his full fitness. But I think a cup run is really, really important. It builds momentum. It builds confidence. I think if you're winning games, whether it's in the Premier League, whether it's the FA Cup, whatever competition it is, it's really, really important, because it just brings that relief within the group. And there's no better feeling as a player as winning games and celebrating with the fans. And it builds momentum. Southampton are 12th in the league. I think 25 points and 9 points clear of the relegation. There's a bit of a cushion there, which is important. But I think Southampton have performed very well this season. Really, really have. I think it's a young team that's developing, and I think these experiences of the cup run can be really, really important. And let's see how far the club can go with another favourable draw. I really fancy them against West Ham. A home tie. West Ham probably not going to prioritise the FA Cup, if I'm honest, with the European competition, trying to go to the top four. So it's a chance for Southampton to really progress and get into the next round.
Most definitely. Well, a player that certainly deserves some plaudits after that one, Adrian, is Kyle Walker-Peters. We saw him rather enjoying the goal celebrations there. Of course, he scored the winning goal on Saturday, scored against Manchester City as well, of course. It's quite interesting, though, that he was left out of the side at the start of the season. But is it fair to say he's almost undroppable now?
He certainly put himself in a very strong position in terms of in Ralph's thoughts. At the moment, when Ralph looks around his squad, Kyle Walker-Peters will be one of those players he'll know will be confident because of the form he's in. Yes, he's not primarily in the team to score goals, but the way that fullback role is kind of developing, showing that sort of attacking ability and that you can contribute from fullback positions will certainly do him no harm. He was very unlucky at the start of the season because he played so well last year, but Tino Livramento made such a positive impression when he came in, and it was almost hard to not pick him as well. But where Kyle Walker-Peters has really helped himself is sort of showing that versatility, that ability to play left back. And he's actually played the majority of his performances have actually been a left back this season. So that's a real sort of string to his bow that he's maybe shown that maybe people weren't aware of before. And it gives Ralph something to think about when he's picking his team, because you've got Perot, who's obviously their natural left-footed player, but Kyle Walker-Peters is in such good form. I just feel that his ability to play on both sides, as well as all these other attributes, the quality, the experience, and in terms of Perot, the advantage he's got is sort of greater experience in English football as well. So it's just a great option for Ralph to have, to be able to pick him on either side, depending on how he sees things. And with Lovrento, he mentioned yesterday in his press conference that he maybe overplayed Lovrento a little bit at the weekend, so I'd be surprised a little bit if Livramento's involved tonight, maybe from the start. So maybe Kyle Walker-Peters will switch back over to the right-hand side. So he's a great option for Ralph to have, to be able to pick on either side.
Yeah, well, speaking of Livramento, he made his return to the Saints lineup after injury on Saturday against Coventry. Dean, but with Kyle Walker-Peters playing so well, obviously as mentioned, getting the goals against Coventry and against Man City, which one do you think will get the nod at right back tonight?
Great question, and it's brilliant for the manager to have those options between the two, because they're both exceptional players. I think it potentially tonight, because the injury Livramento's had, it all depends on him, how his recovery's been, how he feels after the weekend. I don't think the manager will want to push him too much, so there's a reoccurrence of the injury. Like you say, Kyle Walker-Peters has come back into fantastic form. Showed a really good mentality and attitude in terms of that, being asked to play at left back, but performed very, very well, and it's not his natural position. And the beauty, I think, of the situation is the fact that Kyle Walker-Peters can play left back, like Adrian said, and is very effective there. You saw from his goal, his winning goal against Coventry, where he cuts in on his right foot and curls it into the bottom corner. His goal against Man City, playing at right back. So, if they're both fit and they're both okay, I would play both personally. I think it works. I think they're both effective. I think Southampton are a better team when they have two really attack-minded fullbacks. I think it really helps them in terms of an attacking sense. But I agree with Adrian. I think the game tonight may just come a little bit too soon for Livramento. And I can see Perot coming back in, Kyle Walker-Peters coming to right back. And then at the weekend, you may see both of them play.
All right then. Well, we've still got a few minutes to go until the team news is out. So let's hear from Ralph Hasenhüttl now. Here's what the Saints boss had to say in his press conference.
Is this the toughest week of the season? It's a terrible schedule, Wednesday night to Saturday lunchtime, both away from home, both to top six clubs. If you were a manager of Liverpool or Manchester City, you'd be moaning at the press conferences about how bad the schedule is for you and not fair.
Yeah, you forget that we played it before against Man City, and I'm sure before this game nobody had us on the list for taking something. So we knew about the next these 3 games coming up after we lost against Wolves. But we are not looking like this anymore. We are looking like having a chance in every game. We have shown this. We are comfortable with the way we are playing, and we know how good we have to be if you want to be an opponent that is able to take something. And I think the managing of the risk gives you the reward, and I think this is what we need to be clear in this game. There's nothing like a prize money where you can look in the mirror and say you have played well, but I think it's more important to say you must be a very, very good organized opponent, make them scoring as difficult as in the first game against them, and then waiting for your chances. And these chances will definitely come. We have the quality to create this, and this is what we need to do.
Adrian, I'm sure plenty of managers would be moaning about playing on a Wednesday night and then again on a Saturday lunchtime. But actually, great to see Ralph speaking so positively there. He feels obviously quite confident in his squad going into this busy week.
Yeah, and I can understand why. They're in good form. They got momentum. They got confidence. Some really good results of late, as Dean mentioned earlier on. It's one defeat in their last 8, which was at Wolves. Some good wins in there at West Ham, against Brentford, obviously progressing in the FA Cup as well. And obviously the draw against Man City. So some good results to really build up a run of form and momentum, as I say. I think as well, when these games sort of, pile up or come close together, it gives a manager a chance to use and utilise the options he's got in his squad. And I think when you look at some of the areas in Ralph's squad, he's got some good depth. And he's probably got some sort of interchangeable quality as well. He could take certain players out and replace them, and the quality that he's offering and that the team have doesn't really drop that much. There obviously are some players you'd want to see in the side most weeks, like a James Ward-Prowse or Mohamed Salisu, players like that. But he has got some good depth, so I can see why when they've hit a good patch of form, he's quite happy for the games to keep coming and keep giving them a chance to give players minutes.
Yeah, we did mention at the top of the show that Lianco was a casualty from the Coventry game, Dean. It's obviously a big blow for him now that he's going to be out for between 8 and 12 weeks. He was just starting to get a run in the side. So how do you assess the centre-back situation now that he's going to be missing for quite some time?
Well, like you say, Steve, it's a shame because he was just trying to finding some form. I think he was just feeling comfortable within the team and within the Premier League. And I think the manager really managed him very, very well with bringing him with a performance and then bringing him back out, putting him back in, choosing the fixtures that worked well for him. I thought he was excellent when he played against Brighton, really, really good when he played against Brentford. Excellent performance. I really like him when they actually play a back three and he plays centrally. He's very, very good at reading the game, senses danger, enjoys defending, and is comfortable on the ball. So I think he was having a good effect. So it is a shame. But that's part and parcel of football. But, Jack Stevens back now, who is a very, very good player and feel unlucky because of the way he started the season so very, very well. Valerie's come back in, can play that right side of a free if Southampton choose to play that. And if you play the 4, Bednarek and Salisu are probably the first 2 choices in terms of when they play a back 4. And they seem to have built a really good partnership, a really good understanding. So I still think it's really, really healthy. I think there's options there for the manager, whether it's changing shape, playing the normal shape. I think he's got the personnel to do that. And I think we've seen this season with the number of clean sheets and the solid performance. I think there's a really strong foundation at the back, which is a noticeable difference from last season, and something that looks like the manager and the players have worked really hard on. So, yeah, I think they're still okay. But it's a shame for the player. It really is.
Well, before we bring you the team news, we're going to quickly head to our social channels, take a look at a couple of comments that are coming into us. Plenty of you looking forward to kick-off tonight. Mike and Mandy has sent this one in on Facebook. They say 2 important away games coming up this week, would happily take a point tonight. Gary Adams, hello to you. He says a draw tonight would be a good result. I hope we give it a good go. Lots of other comments coming in as well. Andrew Williams says this is a winnable game tonight, so great to see that positivity amongst the fans. But of course, the team news is now out, so let's jump straight over to that, shall we? I suppose the headline team news is that Armando Broja does start. So let's take a look at that team news in full then. In goal, Fraser Forster. The back four, Kyle Walker-Peters, Jan Bednarek, Mohamed Salisu, and Roman Perro keeps his place in the side. In the midfield, our captain, James Ward-Prowse and Oriol Romeu. Out wide, Stuart Armstrong and Moy Elianusi. And up top, Shea Adams and Armando Broja. The substitutes today then, Willie Caballero, Jack Stevens, Jan Valerie, Ibrahima Diallo, Will Smallbone, Musa Gineppo, Theo Walcott, Adam Armstrong and Shane Long. Adrian, let's come to you then for a reaction on that team news. We weren't entirely sure whether Armando would start tonight or not, but he does, and I'm sure he'll be hoping to bag a few more tonight.
Yeah, that's great news. I think because of the impact he's had this season, when you see that he was suffering with an injury, and after the game against Coventry, and Ralph was talking yesterday about him not being able to train for a couple of days, you kind of worry and wonder about possibly how long he may be out. So to see him back in the team is great. As I said, he's had a big impact. He's for somebody of his age, he plays like somebody with a lot more experience, and he's got the way he has taken some of his goals and situations he's created this year. He comes across and performs like a much more experienced striker and player that he is. And as I said, he's had a big impact, and it's great to have somebody with his attributes up top to possibly cause Tottenham some problems today.
Absolutely, and they are in fine form, Spurs, aren't they, Dean? What do you make of this starting 11 to take on Spurs?
I think it's brave. I think it will be the formation like against Man City, the 4-2-2-2, which is pretty natural for the players. I'm really happy to see Broja back in the team and fit. I think him and Shea Adams is a partnership that can cause any defence in this league problems. I think they've got some outstanding attributes, like Adrian has just said, and I think it will be a test for Tottenham tonight, where they play three at the back, 3 against the 2. So it's brave from Southampton. I think they'll take the game to Spurs. And I like the midfield as well. There's lots of energy within that midfield. Stuart Armstrong and Elanusi, they'll kind of play a little bit more central to allow the fullbacks to push on. So almost making a bit of a diamond, a bit of a four in there to try and control possession and dominate possession against Tottenham. It's a strong team. It really, really is. So looking forward to seeing them compete against an improving and a good Tottenham team. Have got a decent home record under the new manager, and with Harry Kane backfiring, it's going to be an interesting test for Southampton tonight.
Yeah, it certainly will, and it's not been that long since we played Spurs either, with a 1-1 draw coming in December. Adrian, what do you remember from how that game played out?
I think one of the standouts from that was how sort of Saints really had to grind out that point. It's one of those games that, when you look back over this season, and Dean was talking about the solidity they've shown at times, I think this is one of those games which highlighted that. Obviously, they go ahead through James Ward-Prowse's goal and then get pegged back, and Mohamed Salisu gets sent off as well. So it was a long time they were playing with 10 men, and they had to be really disciplined, really organised, bodies on the line at times. There was a moment late on where Kyle Walker-Peters blocked a shot with his head and sort of went down, and that kind of highlighted the kind of effort they were having to put in to try and keep Spurs at bay. And obviously a little bit of fortune with Spurs having a couple of goals booked off, one for offside and one for a foul, I think, on Fraser Forster, which was maybe a little bit fortunate. And it was Southampton, understandably, with 10 men, spent most of the game defending, had one late chance with Broja, but in the end it proved to be a really good point in the circumstances that won that day.
Most definitely. Well, we have a comment here from Jean Young, and she says, need to take the positives from our last game against Spurs. We can beat them if we play our best. Dean, 2 big decisions went in Saints' favour that day, but in your opinion, were they the right decisions?
Difficult, Kenzie, if I'm honest. I think the first one, the Harry Kane decision, if you look at the goal, it's a brilliant pass by Harry Winks, and it's superb movement by Harry Kane, an excellent finish. And I don't think Tottenham really deserved that, to be honest. I think Southampton earned their luck in that game from such a brilliant performance in the first half before Salisu got sent off. The way they pressed Tottenham, the way they worked, the goal from James Ward-Prowse was was exceptional. But with this Hurricane, I mean, you'll see it's really, really close. I think it can be given either way, if I'm honest. And there's been lots of decisions, especially last year, which really didn't go Southampton's way. So it kind of evens itself out. They got a little bit of potential luck there, but I think that decision definitely could have gone either way. But I think, like you say, you earn your luck as a player, you earn your luck as a team, and they earned a bit there. But I mean, the goal here, where Fraser Forster kind of drops it, I think I'll be kind if I said that this should have been disallowed. I think they got a lot of luck there, to be honest. I think Fraser, if he looks at himself, analyses himself, just needs to be a little bit stronger and probably catch the ball a little bit higher. He tried to catch it as it comes down and kind of bring it into his chest. I don't think he's aware of actually Doherty coming in at the back. I think it's Valerie kind of bends down because he probably hears the call from Fraser Forster. So I think there's an element of luck there but again, I'll go back to it. I think Southampton deserved that because the second half they worked so hard as a team, showed real spirit. There's a real brilliant mentality where, again, that's what I mean with the improvement this year in this young team. I don't think that would have happened last year. I think they maybe would have lost the game. The decision that Harry Kane goal probably would have been given. So yeah, good spirit and they earned their luck. So I'd probably say the second goal probably should have been given in my opinion, but it wasn't, so it doesn't matter.
Very true. Well, as we know that Armando Broja is going to be starting the game tonight, despite picking up that injury against Coventry. Adrian, how important will his power and directness be in a game like this tonight?
Very, because Spurs. I was at the Spurs game at the weekend actually against Brighton, and there will be chances there to be had based on what I saw, and where Brighton had maybe Neil Maupay miss a couple of good chances. Armando Broja has shown how good he is in front of goal. We're seeing some of his finishing now. And when you get those chances, you really do have to take them. And I must admit, if a couple of those chances that fell to Neil Maupay at the weekend had fallen to Armando Broja, I would back him to score. They've got Christian Romero back. Tottenham, very impressive defender. You talk about Armando Broja's power. I think Romero could probably match him there. So it will be a good test to see maybe the two of them go up against each other. But I mean, he's shown Armando Broja. He's a young player, as I said, but he shows no fear. And Spurs, big stadium, big team, big club. That environment, this ground, this occasion, is not one he's going to be daunted by. I can almost see him relishing the chance to maybe go up against Spurs' defence and try and give them problems. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does.
Most definitely. Well, once again, let's head back to our social channels to take a look at what the fans watching along at home have to say. Great to hear from you all, as always. Jackie Chalk on Facebook says, cannot wait for this one. A real test, but I feel like we can come away with something. Andrew Sell, good evening. Want to see some of that fighting spirit tonight that we showed during the City game to see us pick up the points. Russell on Facebook, going to be a tough game, but if we could score and get a point against Manchester City, then I'm sure we can do the same against Spurs. Love that attitude. And here's one from Stephen Townsend on YouTube. He says Saints need to come out fighting and keep Kane quiet. Yes, Spurs have certainly been in good form, haven't they, Dean? So what do they need to do to cause them a few problems this evening?
I think if you look at the game at St Mary's, in the first half, when it was 11v11, the way Southampton pressed Tottenham was really, really impressive. High up the pitch, didn't allow them to settle. It's different when you're playing away from home, but you can have the same approach. I think that energy is really, really important. And if you look at Tottenham, I was looking at previous games where they've conceded goals. They're not great in one-on-one situations, in one-on-one duels when players are potentially running at them. They struggle a little bit centrally when, if you look at the Leicester goals, the combination between James Maddison and Jamie Vardy, there's a couple of quick passes and clever movement. And the Tottenham players, defenders especially, couldn't cope with it. Midfield runners didn't really stay with their runners. So if you look at the team that Southampton have picked tonight with two central strikers up front, if they can combine well together, which we know they can, they're very, very clever. The intelligence of Stuart Armstrong coming centrally and combining with the forward players. And also Tottenham do allow you to strike from distance. They do. You think of James Ward-Prowse's goal against Tottenham. Adrian mentioned there Basuma's goal at the weekend. It took a deflection, but the way he was allowed to run through the middle of the pitch and get a strike away. And I think it's Ziyech's goal for Chelsea, where The fullback makes a brilliant run and it attracts the Tottenham defenders. He's allowed to cut in on his left foot and curl in as a top corner. It's a fantastic finish, but that's what I'm talking about. The clever movement of players off the ball, unselfish runs, I think can cause gaps and cause problems for Tottenham. But on the other side, Tottenham are a fantastic team going forward. So it's going to be an interesting contest, and it will come down to, like it always does at the top level, whoever takes the chances.
It has been a bit of an up and down season for Tottenham though, Adrian. I mean, what have you made of them this campaign, and who do you think the key players will be for Southampton tonight against them?
I think in terms of Spurs this season, we have to almost forget the first part under Nuno Espirito Santo because Antonio Conte is in charge now, and they're a very different team. I think that's quite obvious. I think it was quite quickly after Conte came in, you could see they leapt from the lowest running team in the league to the top. So that's kind of an example of the change he made quite quickly. They play now with a much greater intensity, and it's almost like the players look to the sideline and they see Conte there, and they know they can't slack off. They have to put the effort in and the energy into their performances with Conte on the sidelines. Their form and their results have improved. It's one league defeat under Conte, but again, sort of referring back to what I saw at the weekend, there's not a sense yet from Spurs that despite that improvement in results that they're unbeatable, that you can't create chances against them. I mentioned just a couple that Brighton managed to carve out against them, and it was quite interesting watching Spurs that despite that improvement in results against Brighton had a lot of the ball. Spurs were happy to let them control the game and sort of do all the running, and Spurs were playing on the counter-attack. And maybe the one difference they got now under Conte, because they play with that greater intensity and urgency, they're actually more of a threat when they counter-attack. They build up their moves and their counter-attacks. They're not slow. They're not sort of ponderous. They actually do. You see, it's kind of bodies charging forward. It's Kane maybe leading it, but there's players actually getting up to support him, and that will be something to maybe be wary of if this game was to pan out the same way, and maybe Saints have a lot of the ball, to really be wary that Spurs do carry a serious threat on the counter.
Well, yeah, Dean, as Adrian just said there, Spurs playing at a much greater intensity with Conte on the sidelines. And with that in mind, it is, of course, going to be a difficult match. Which way do you see this one going? And what's your score prediction?
Well, I think it'll be a big test. I think Tottenham have vastly improved. Their home record was pretty good under Conte. They're a different team. But they're not yet an elite team. They're not a team that you necessarily have to really fear. But they do have exceptional quality and individuals in their team. So I'm looking forward to this game. I think if Southampton can contain Tottenham, have that possession, Adrian mentioned Brighton had a lot of possession. If Southampton get that chance to have possession, they do use it well at times. And then combination between players, if they can build up a bit of momentum in the game, I think they can cause Tottenham some problems. They're going to need to defend well. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw tonight.
Okay, 1-1 draw, same as last time out. Okay, Adrian, let's come to you then for your thoughts. I mean, looking through the fans' comments, it looks as though they're feeling positive. I can see quite a few comments with win predictions on, but which way do you see this one going?
I'm optimistic for Southampton tonight, partly because of what I saw at the weekend and because of the form also that Southampton are in. I like the team, very positive. It shows an intent from Ralph in terms of how he wants to play, how he wants to attack this game and Spurs, which I think is probably the right way to go because, as I said, they're not unbeatable yet. They're not a team you can't create chances against. I think this is going to be a draw, like Dean. I think 2-2. I can see some goals in this one, so I'm going to go 2-2 draw, I think, tonight.
All right, high scoring draw there. Well, Dean, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us on Saints Live this evening. Right, around 45 minutes to go until kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with Southampton looking to move into the top half of the Premier League table with 3 points tonight. Do remember to join us all after the game on the final whistle, where we'll have all the post-match reaction and analysis. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.